Welcome back to Kenya, Finland. Today we are doing a part 2 of housing in Finland. Let me start by talking about the rental contract that you have to sign before you get into any agreement and you move in into the house that you have found vacant and you like to move in with your family and friends or just by yourself. So you have to sign a rental contract with the landlord, giving very specific details of by which date you have to pay the rent, how much rent is agreed upon, how many square meters, what services you can use, and things like that. And that has to be from both sides. So now, with the rental agreement signed and all the services inclusive that have been agreed upon, then we have the landlord and tenant law, whereby there's a law that protects the tenant in Finland so that things like the landlord coming into your house without any permission to check the house is not allowed. They have to give you a notice prior, even if it's just for maintenance and repairs, which is something that I really like. Another thing that I really like about this tenant law is that you cannot just be kicked out of the house without any good reason because someone decides that they just don't like you. There's a protocol whereby there has to be proof that you are doing things against the laws. As you all know, before you move into the house, there are all these rules and terms that you have to abide by as a tenant and also as the landlord. Things like maintenance and repairs is the duty and obligation of the landlord, and maintenance of the house and paying the rent definitely is the responsibility of the tenant. So both ends have to abide by the terms and conditions and play according to the rule. So rules like using the accommodation for Airbnb quite often in Finland is not allowed. So you have to really check with your landlord and understand the laws and the rules and the terms. There are places where it's allowed. You can use the accommodation for Airbnb, but in most rental contracts it's clearly stated that it's not allowed to use the accommodation for Airbnb. So accommodation is only to be used for the main purpose for which you rented it for, which is for your own stay. If you have to bring more members in, you have to inform the landlord, especially if you're bringing members to stay for long periods of time. If you forget your keys in the house in Finland, it is against the law to come and break the lock. So like in Kenya, we all know, well, yeah, you can just, you forgot the key, okay, you just break the lock and get in. In Finland, you can actually get arrested for it, despite you breaking into your own house because you forgot the keys. You have to call for the guy who's responsible to come and open. There's some type of door opening service, which is quite expensive. If you're lucky that you forgot your keys during the day, during a weekday, you might end up parting with around 20 euros, which the landlord is going to send someone to come and open. If it happens to be in the evening on a weekday, you'll pay around 60 euro. That's like 6,000 Kenyan shillings. Well, until if it happens at night or over the weekend, you'll end up paying 9,000 Kenya shillings, which is 90 euros. Yeah, and you have to call a number which is usually provided by the landlord. They provide you that number when you're signing up the contract. So in case you forget the key, then they can always send someone to come and open for you any time of the day, irrespective. So you can pay the amount of money beforehand. You can get a bill that you pay thereafter. But yeah, you have to always remember to carry your keys. The other thing that is quite interesting in Finland is that if you have visitors coming over and they misbehave, it's your responsibility. They'll be arrested, but complaints will be forwarded to the landlord about you. So your neighbors will basically say that you're bringing crowds that are disturbing them. Maybe they are making noise, they are fighting in their house, or at night or during the day, they are rowdy, they are throwing things around. All your visitors are your responsibility here in Finland. So you have to really choose carefully who you allow into your house or to come around visiting. Another funny thing in Finland is that there's this no begging rule. So begging can be as small as going to your neighbor's door to knock and say, hey, I just ran out of sugar. Can I borrow some sugar? Hey, I ran out of matchbox. Can I borrow one? Hey, I ran out of this and that. That is considered begging. And if your neighbors complain to the landlord that you're disturbing them by going to their houses to beg for a cigarette or matchbox or whatever, it can get you a warning. And if you get more than 2 warnings, the third warning means an eviction. So you have to be very careful here. I know that's not the case in Kenya, but here, yeah, it's not allowed. Littering here in Finland, especially littering of the compound, of the corridors, and whatever place in the accommodation is not allowed. If you become, if you have a habit of littering and you are noticed, you might get word of mouth warning. But if that continues, you can get a warning written. 2 written warnings, the third one leads into eviction. So you have to be very careful. There are dustbins everywhere, so there's no reason why anybody should be littering anyway. It's just common sense. The other thing is smoke alarms. It's required by law. Actually, most landlords demand that you take the responsibility of installing a smoke alarm. Smoke alarms are not expensive in Finland. They cost around €5. And some can be very expensive depending on your taste. Some landlords do install smoke alarms, but usually it is the responsibility of the tenant to install a smoke alarm so as to avoid fires, because most houses in Finland are constructed using a lot of wood. And as we all know, that wood burns very easily. So it's also for your own good that you have a smoke alarm. So even if the neighbor's house is burning or whatever, so you can, or especially if you have children, it's good to have a smoke alarm so that you can always know, or food is burning or whatever. Because if it ends up that it is because of your own negligence that there was a fire, the bill is going to be sent to you. And in Finland, you cannot run away from bills. Even if you don't have money to pay that bill immediately, you'll pay it slowly. So a third of your salary will be going into paying that bill for the rest of your life. So here you have to be very careful. And it's just cheaper to have the smoke alarm and to always be very careful. If you're cooking, you stay around and cook and eat the food, not put food in the oven or whatever, and then you go just running around to do other errands. The other thing in Finland that you are supposed to have, and most landlords will not rent your house without, is home insurance. So home insurance, you need to have it just in case there's something like water leakages. For example, you're washing something and the pipe just breaks, and or washing machine breaks and then floods the house, because it can be very expensive for such repairs. So when you have home insurance, then it covers that and other small things around the house, which is very good. And it's not expensive. You might end up paying like €70, €80, depending on the size of the house, per year. So it's not so expensive. And you get tax relief for that when you have the home insurance. So it's highly recommendable. And that is not a requirement in Kenya in most cases. The other thing in Finland is that you're not allowed to air your carpets on the balcony, because it's a flat. When you're airing your carpets on the balcony, you are also like spreading dust on the neighbor who's living below. So there are designated areas to go and air your carpets in case you want to air your carpets or blow dust off your carpets in the flat, which is usually on the ground floor. The other thing in Finland is that every landlord provides storage, which we call verkkokomero. So a small storage unit in the basement for every tenant is allocated. So if you have like winter clothes that you want to store away during summertime, you can do that, or you have these extra things you want to store away. And it's usually safe. Rarely do you hear breaks. Sometimes there are breakers, but quite often it's just safe. You can lock away some stuff there, or if you have a car and you have winter tires during summer, you can store them away. And it really helps to keep the house neat because Finnish homes are not very big. So when you have this type of wire meshed storage unit, it really helps to keep the house neat and organized, so that the things that you don't need to use can be tucked away somewhere else. And whenever you want, you can always go there and pick them. Now, you are not allowed to go and use the neighbor's storage unit, even if it's free and open. You need to have a permission. Probably it's even better to have a written agreement just in case something happens to you. So when your people come to collect your things, that it's well known that those are your things. And it's good also to inform the landlord that you have that type of agreement. The other thing in Finland is that cleanliness is highly appreciated and valued, so you need to keep your home clean. Now, this is one of the most interesting parts, because when you come to Finland from developing countries, nobody educates you on how to clean their home. So if you come from a home where you have to pour a whole bucket of water, soapy water, and brush the floor real clean. If you do that in Finland, the floor is going to rot because most of the floors are wooden. So you have to know how to clean them with very little water. The cloth has to just be moist. You vacuum the floor and wipe with a moist cloth and keep it clean, which is the responsibility of the tenant. Doing barbecues using coal in Finland at the balcony is definitely not allowed because of fires, the risk of fires. So while in Kenya you can just go and barbecue your meat, roast your maize, have fun with your friends, stuff like that, in Finland is not allowed. In some places you're allowed to use an electric barbecue, but in most flats it's not allowed, also because of the strong smell and the risk of fires also. So that's just another thing, a big difference between Kenya and Finland. The other thing is pets. In Finland, people tend to have pets and they keep their pets in the house. So the dogs, the cats, and everything. Now, as a rule, if your dog, if you want to walk your dog, because you have to take your dog out to walk so it can relieve itself, it has to be on a leash. And then, as a rule, if your dog poops, you have to collect the poop. That's by law. You cannot just be walking your dog, it poops and you walk away. You can get fined for that. And if your dog goes and poops on the garden, a neighbor's garden, or even where you live and you don't collect it, you can actually get a written warning, because it is your responsibility. If you take a pet, if you buy a pet, it is your responsibility. Another interesting thing to mention at this point is that if you take a pet, you have to make sure that it's calm. If you take a dog that keeps whining and barking during the day and disturbing the neighbors, they'll make a complaint against you. And if they make a complaint against you, you're likely to get a warning letter. So you have to, at all times, ensure that your pets are calm, they are well behaved, they are well trained. You clean after them and you take them out as often and give them exercise so that they also stay calm and give you peace and give the neighbors peace. The other thing that is interesting in Finland by law is that you cannot make noise between 10 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. Here it reads, huoneistossa ei saa viettää häiritsevää elämää. So you cannot have a disturbing type of lifestyle like in Kenya, when over the weekend you put loud music, boom, 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 is like a disco in the house. Totally not allowed. At night from 10 o'clock to 7 o'clock, there has to be absolute silence. You cannot even run your washing machine. You cannot vacuum your house. You cannot use any electronics that make noise at night. It has to be dead silence. Otherwise, people can call the cops on you. If you're making noise and your neighbors feel like you're making noise, they have every right to call the police. And it's just a stone throw away. It's just 112. They call, they say, hey, I live in this address and my neighbor is making so much noise, I cannot sleep. By law, the police will come, knock on your door. If you don't open, they'll break it down to find out what is going on. Have you fallen asleep? Are you in the house? Are you dead there? What's going on? So you have to be very careful with noise. In Finland, it's quite useless to buy big speakers. Where will you play that music? There's no room for it. Finnish people don't like noise. Another thing is smell, and this can be very ishy, like strong smell, like curry is strong smell that can be disturbing to a neighbor. And curry is just normal smell for certain communities. They cook curry and they eat curry every day. So another thing that can be strong smell for, like what I mean, strong smell for you can be not strong smell for another person. But if it comes from being a dirty house, you can get a written warning for it. So hygiene at all times, and using strong sprays and burning incense in the house is not encouraged. The other thing is overcrowding. In Finland, just because you want to make money and save money, maybe for your projects back at home in Africa, or you want to help friends, or your income is not enough, and you decide that 10 of you go and live in a small house to save money, well, that is not allowed here. Finnish authorities really are strict about how many people can live in how many square meters. So if you don't have enough money to afford a good accommodation, you have to go to the social office and explain yourself, and they can see how they can support you. Quite often you get support so that you are able to still live decently if you are low income earner. But crowding to save money, it's not allowed. So at the end of the day, a specific amount of money will come out of your pockets. And genuinely, if you don't have the money, you'll get support from the social office, so that you can be able to afford good accommodation. Yeah, so otherwise, if you observe all these laws in Finland, you're likely to really live peacefully. Now, the other thing that I'll just mention as a by the way is eviction and the process of eviction. Let's say, for example, that you disagree with the landlord and you're supposed to move out for good reasons. You're not paying rent, you're not keeping the house right. You will be forced to leave the home. Yeah, you'll just get a notice and you'll be forced to leave the home. I'll talk about the process of eviction in a different in a different video. Otherwise, thank you and welcome back again. Remember to like this video, comment and subscribe. Share with your friends and see you again. Bye-bye.